Oh, uh-oh. Oh no. Things aren't looking good for Rise of Skywalker. Final Death Star here. Well, it's not looking that good for Rise of Skywalker. In fact, the numbers are a little bleak, if you can believe it. It's hard to believe. It's the finale of the Skywalker saga, yet here we have a Forbes article, box office, the 92% plunge for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker was unprecedented. Unprecedented. This is Forbes.com. Okay, let's get into it. We finally had a new #1 movie at a domestic box office this past weekend. Sam Mendes, Golden Globe winner 1917. I do really want to see this movie. I want to see 1917. It looks good. And I want to see it in the theater. It looks like a movie that's, made for the theater. It pulled in an estimated $36.5 million ahead of this morning's announcement for the 92nd Academy Award nominees. A box office event that is sure to ratchet up the Oscar buzz ahead of the awards ceremony on February 9th. But the real story isn't how 1917 became Sam Mendes' third best opening weekend ever. No. What we should really talk about is just how monumentally low the 15.1 million fourth weekend total is for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Before we get to the bad news, let's just make one thing clear. All is wonderful in the Star Wars universe. Yes, don't worry. No, it's not bad. Look the other way. Everything is completely normal here. Sure, it is unprecedented, the 92% plunge, unprecedented, but all is wonderful. It's okay. It's okay. Don't be worried for Star Wars. It's fine. No big deal. Look the other way. Consume. I think that is very, very telling when they have to warn you. Oh, hey, I know seems bleak. I know it seems like things aren't going as planned, but it's okay. Everything is fine. We're all fine here. Situation normal, to quote Harrison Ford. The movie has likely hit the $1 billion mark. We'll know for sure as a worldwide box office returns slowly churn in. The Star Wars sequel accomplished the notable feat of spending 3 weekends atop the box office against no competition, I might add. The Disney movie's $463.1 million total makes it the third highest grossing film released in 2019. And on top of it all, the movie is actually pretty fantastic in his opinion. And he says, in my opinion. But we can't deny the facts. And the fact is that almost no movie that made that much on an opening weekend has ever had this gigantic of a drop in the box office. But everything is wonderful in the Star Wars universe. Everything is fine. Yes, it's all fine. Even though it's a gigantic drop. No movie has ever had an opening weekend like that, has ever had that much of a drop, but everything is fine. Here's the numbers we're looking at. 91.5%. That's how much Rise of Skywalker's fourth weekend revenue. 15.1 million dropped from the opening weekend of 177.4 million, which on the surface, that might not seem that crazy. After all, every weekend for a movie that makes that much on opening weekend would seem small in comparison. It was no surprise that Rise of Skywalker joined the 100 Million Losers Club, with still breaking records. Just not the kind of Disney thought. Boy, I wonder if they're happy with their record-breaking movie here, which houses movies that made less than 100 million on their second weekend than their opening weekend, the 100 Million Losers Club. Rise of Skywalker was in the same boat as The Lion King, which saw a $115.2 million drop from its opening $191.8 million weekend. But here's the difference between Rise of Skywalker, and The Lion King, and really the difference between Rise of Skywalker and every movie that's made over $175 million on opening weekend. Rise of Skywalker's revenue plunge from opening weekend is much larger by comparison. After a $177.4 million opening weekend, The Rise of Skywalker saw a 59.2% decline on the second weekend, the fifth worst showing for the club, the 100 Million Losers Club. Just to remind everybody. Then the Disney film's $34.5 million third weekend showing resulted in an 81% drop, the third worst showing for the club. And now this past weekend, 91.5% drop ties The Rise of Skywalker with Avengers Endgame for the largest fourth weekend drop for anyone in the $100 Million Losers Club. It doesn't stop at the $100 Million Losers Club, though. Oh, no. This is going to break more records. That 91.5% fall is the worst fourth weekend showing for any Disney movie that made $1 billion in 2019. It's also the worst fourth weekend for any Star Wars movie ever. Now for the worst part. We're not even at the worst part yet. Now for the worst part. No movie that has ever made at least $175 million on an opening weekend has seen this much of a decline. Only 12 movies have accomplished such a massive opening weekend, but only 2 have seen a 91.5% drop, and that is Star Wars Rise of Skywalker and Avengers Endgame. Here's the list here, the top 12. While Rise of Skywalker sits atop this unfortunate list alongside Avengers Endgame, their situations aren't all that comparable. After all, Endgame's $357.1 million opening weekend is $100 million ahead of the second best weekend opening ever, which was it was more than double the Rise of Skywalker that the Rise of Skywalker made on the first opening weekend. The only movie that truly suffered a comparatively embarrassing fourth weekend showing was Captain America Civil War, which pulled in $179.1 million in opening weekend. So you've got Rise of Skywalker staying on the top here of the list. Avengers Endgame also had a huge drop in week 4, but Avengers Endgame also made like double the amount of money on their first opening weekend as Rise of Skywalker did. So this is a massive flop. I mean, it's making $1 billion. It's going to make $1 billion, but it's not nearly like the drop off. It's not nearly making what Disney wanted it to make. So how do you compare? What do you rank as like a good film? Or not a good film, a successful film? You're making $1 billion, sure, but what did it cost to make the movie, the reshoots, the time lost, advertising, all that, marketing? When you put it all together, this movie is a massive failure for them. It's sitting the top, the number 1 spot, tied for number 2, but the number 2, the one it's tied with, made double as much on the opening weekend. So this is just not a good position to be in for Rise of Skywalker. And again, this is the movie that's supposed to bring to a conclusion the whole Skywalker saga. Everything was supposed to be wrapped up in this movie, and it's tied for the worst drop off in history. Oh man, it's really unfortunate. But this is what happens when you have an agenda and you don't listen to your fan base, the hardcore fan base. It's pretty clear what we wanted. We were vocal about it. And all you had to do is follow more of the EU, or at least give us characters that we recognize. Because who was that Jake Skywalker guy? Well, it wasn't someone I had ever seen before in any Star Wars movies. So now they're reaping the reward. I guess the record-breaking rewards. It's just not the rewards that they wanted. They're not breaking the records they wanted to break. So, there you have it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and give this video a thumbs up, and do subscribe to the channel. And thanks, guys, for watching. And lock the doors and hope they don't have blasters.